Aberfeldy is a distillery that's often overlooked in my mind, and I don't think it should be. I think those people are missing out, and I'm going to tell you why. So stick around. Back in 2023, I actually had an opportunity to visit the Aberfeldy distillery, and it's a great time. I highly recommend it if you get an opportunity. I had a blast. I drank some whiskey. I learned some things, and now I get to share some of that knowledge with you. So first things first, Aberfeldy is owned by Duars, right? John Duar and Sons. So part of the reason it's overlooked as a distillery is that this single malt, tasty as it may be, is not the majority of its output, right? Like it puts out this single malt and most of it goes into the Duar's 12 blend, right? So an interesting experiment that I would highly recommend and that I got to do at the distillery is get yourself a Duar's 12-year-old, get yourself a Aberfeldy 12-year-old, and compare and contrast with the knowledge that the Aberfeldy 12-year-old is the base for what goes into the Duar's 12-year-old. Honest opinion, they ruined the single malt by making it into a blend. That's just how I felt. I don't know how you guys try it for yourself, right? At the end of the day, the blend sells way more than the single malt, so what do I know, right? Like I say, most of what they put out goes into their blended whiskeys. Another reason why it's overlooked, I think, is it's a bit boring. Yes? People find it boring? See, they don't experiment much. There's not going to be a lot of different cask experiments. There's not going to be a lot of playing around with ABV. It's going to be standard 40%. It's going to be aged in bourbon and sherry casks, ex-char and refill casks. And that's pretty much it. It's going to be pretty standard. Now, I understand that that's not the sexiest, but I also think you got to start somewhere. And when you're on a whiskey journey, what better place to start than somewhere that's a tad boring, but super consistent? So one of the things I learned when I was at the distillery, which kind of disappointed me, was that they don't malt their own barley. They source malted barley. Now, while that is a little disheartening, the fact is most distilleries source malted barley. There's only a handful of them that would actually still have malting floors and malt their own barley. These guys are not one of them. It's unpeated. Another thing is that it's unpeated, so a lot of people might find that a little boring. It doesn't have a lot of extras, but that, for my purposes, is perfect. Because what I want to do is look at the influence of age on the spirit. So, knowing that the 12 and the 16 and the 21 are going to be aged in roughly the same circumstances, similar casks, I think there's a little difference. Like the 16 is finished in sherry cask exclusively, I think. The 12 is not. But anyway, it's fairly consistent, and I think it provides a good starting point for a whiskey journey and a set of observations as to what the influence is of age on a whiskey. Now they call it the golden dram, and oddly, that's not because of the color. The reason they call it the golden dram is because the water source they use is the Patilly Burn. It's a small tributary or small river that feeds into the River Tay, and they say historically it's known to have gold deposits in them there river walls. So that's where it comes from. They get the water from there and they call it the golden dram. Now, the people selling the whiskey say the 12-year-old on the nose has orchard fruit, honey, and heather. Confession time, I don't know what heather smells like. I actually do want to find some heather and smell it. The palate is honey, vanilla, toffee, and cereal, and the finish is cinnamon spice. So we're going to see if it lives up to that. At the LCBO, this 12-year-old single malt is $75. So it's a fairly decent price for a starting point. Similar to, let's say, Glenlivet or Glenfiddich. All right, I'm getting a lot of like buttery malt notes. I am getting the orchard fruits for sure. As I say, I don't know if I'm getting the heather. Maybe I am. And definitely the honey. So honey and fruit, yeah, bingo. Definitely there. Very smooth. I get honey. Almost a little bit more intense, like a brown sugarish. There's some oak on the finish. A little bit of, what do they call it? Barrel tannins. I'm not getting a ton of spice, but there is some mild spice. And now, yeah, I am getting some cinnamon on the back end. Very easy sipper. I would consider this like an everyday whiskey you could leave out, sip with friends. Everyone's gonna like it. You could throw it on ice if it's not your speed. Very nice. All right. Let's try the 16-year-old. Wow. Okay, that's much richer immediately. Yeah, this is definitely making me think of like spring, summer. It is a lot of the same notes, a little bit cranked up, and maybe some like dark fruit. Now, for the 16-year-old, the people who sell the whiskey say the nose is radiating honey, citrus, and spicy cloves. The radiating honey, it's funny. I laughed when they wrote that, when I read that. I don't know what that means. But then smelling the two of them, yeah, I think this one radiates a little more. The smell of the honey and the malt, it radiates. So I'll give them a pass on that. It does radiate. The palate should be sherried fruitcake, honey, toffee, and dark chocolate. And the finish should be smooth, gentle spice. Well, I got smooth, gentle spice on the last one, innit? So we'll see. Sherried fruitcake sounds rather delicious. But yeah, it's a similar profile. You get the honey, maybe some vanilla in there too. Let's try the palate. I don't know if it's sherry fruitcake, but like it tastes like what you would get in like a rum cake, right? Like the fruits in the rum cake, soaked with the alcohol, obviously. I am getting that. So like Christmas cake or something you would make around that time. Although the overall appeal of this whiskey is very summer to me. I'm still getting the honey, obviously. Little toffee. The finish is, I don't really get much spice on the finish. Let me try again. Yeah, it's a little more rounded, a little more dark fruit influence. The barrel tannins are a little bit more toned down. You can still get the oak. I'm getting a little bit of char. A little char in there too on the finish. This is a little step up. Now this one at the LCBO is $99. So it's $75, $100. Yeah, it is a step up. I think either one is fine. A little sip of water. So yeah, the 16 is it seems a little bit more rounded, has a little bit more of a range of the flavors, and none of the flavors punch out as much. Like the stringency of the barrel tannins, it's not as harsh. Although it's aged longer, right? It just blends better with everything else. All right, let's try this Glorious 21. That smells delicious right away. So again, the people who sell the alcohol say the nose is floral, heather, honey, toasted coconut, and a wisp of smoke. It is floral, and I do get honey. Toasted coconut? It's a bit of a stretch. It might be psychosomatic. I am getting a bit of coconut. Like almost like what the coconut suntan lotion, like that kind of vibe. And the wisp of smoke, very light in the background. What else do they say about it? On the palate, it should be honey, vanilla, macadamia nuts, fudge, coconut, cinnamon, and dry fruit. That's a lot. And then the finish is silky oak, beeswax, and trace smoke. Well, the nose is the best of the three, by far. It's gentle. There's nothing punchy about it, but the floral is definitely the forefront. All of the elements are still there. You still have the honey. There is the hint of smoke. I don't know where that comes from because it is unpeated. But consistently, I'm told people get hints of smoke from different experiences with Aberfeldy. All right, let's try the palate. Okay, there's definitely like a gentle smoke, like peat smoke. It's unmistakable. I don't know where it came from though. Yeah, and macadamia nuts, I'm getting that. It's nutty, it's smoky. What else did they say? Yeah, I don't get the coconut. Not cinnamon. It's way too gentle for cinnamon. Yeah, I'll go honey, vanilla, macadamia nuts. Not a ton of dry fruit. Maybe a hint of cinnamon. And there is a little wisp of smoke on the finish there. Silky oak. This is the least stringent of the barrel tannins. So I would call it silky. This is very nice. Now this one jumps to $275, right? So you got 75, 100, then 275. Because once you get to 21 years old, they're not playing around, right? Yeah, this is by far the best one. So I'm gonna go 80, 82, 86. Would I spend $275 on the single malt, the 21-year-old? Probably not, but luckily I got some. Also, because I went to the distillery, as I tell you, I got this one here, which was straight from the cask, 21-year-old, bottled at 55.3%. So I saved that for a special occasion, and I will enjoy this one today. So yeah, that's my take on Aberfeldy. And like I say, it's an overlooked distillery because people might think it's a little boring, but they make a fine single malt, and it is the base of the Duars, which sells like 3.3 million cases a year, right? Like it's in the top 10 of brands and sales. So this delicious little liquid is selling at that pace, just not as the single malt, right? It's selling in the blend. Anyway, it's a wonderful single malt. It's a Highland single malt. It's unpeated. It's unexperimental. It's consistent, and it's quite tasty. Anyway, that's the show. As always, I'm Jason. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and share the video with your friends. Let's get a conversation going, shall we? Leave a comment down below. Let me know, have you tried Aberfeldy, or are you also missing out? Anyway, I'm Jason. This is It Was All a Jam. See you next time.